The ancestral curse, where sacred earth is disturbed and the dead do not rest quietly. Welcome to the ancestral curse, where ancient tombs aren't just burial sites, but locked doors to something far older and far less forgiving. Some believed they were uncovering history, but they were breaking pacts, shattering seals meant to last forever. What follows isn't just misfortune, it's wrath. And once the ancestors are awakened, they never go back to sleep. The curse of the Pharaoh. Death walks with Tutankhamun. There is a whisper that echoes through time, a warning wrapped in silk, sealed behind stone, and buried beneath the golden sands of Egypt. It begins in 1922, in the Valley of the Kings. British archaeologist Howard Carter had spent years chasing a ghost, the tomb of the boy king, Tutankhamun. Most believed it was a fool's errand. The valley had been picked clean, they said. But Carter pressed on. And then, the day came. The moment his team chiseled through the doorway, Carter peered in, candle trembling in his hand. When asked what he saw, he breathed one haunting sentence. Wonderful things. Gold, jewels, a sarcophagus unlike anything the world had seen. But what Carter didn't mention, not at first, was the strange inscription he found at the entrance. Ancient hieroglyphs, etched with obsessive precision. Death shall come on swift wings to him who disturbs the king's peace. A warning? Or a prophecy? What followed would make even the most skeptical historian shiver. The first death. Just months after the tomb was opened, Lord Carnarvon, the financier of the expedition, was dead. A mosquito bite on his cheek turned septic. At the exact moment of his death in Cairo, the lights in the entire city mysteriously went out. Back in England, his dog let out a chilling howl and dropped dead. Coincidence? Soon after, others began to fall. Carter's team members, healthy, young men, succumbed to bizarre illnesses, sudden fevers, unexplained accidents. By 1930, over 20 people linked to the tomb's opening had died under eerie circumstances. A radiologist who examined Tutankhamun's mummy died of radiation exposure. A visitor to the tomb collapsed in his hotel room, cause of death unknown. Even Carter's own canary, said to have been his good luck charm, was found dead in its cage, swallowed by a cobra, the symbol of the Egyptian monarchy. And yet, Carter himself lived on. Some say he was spared because he treated the tomb with respect. Others believe he carried something home from the tomb, something that never left him. But what exactly was the curse? Science, of course, tried to intervene. Bacteria? Ancient mold? Some theories suggest the tomb had sealed inside deadly fungi or spores, inhaled by those who dared to enter. Logical, yes, but not enough to explain the uncanny pattern of death that seemed to stalk those involved. Others turned to the supernatural. They believed the priests of ancient Egypt had cast a real, binding curse, a spiritual defense to guard the young king's soul for eternity. After all, death to the ancient Egyptians wasn't the end. It was a journey. And Tutankhamun's sleep had been disturbed. In the decades since, the myth of the Pharaoh's curse has only grown. Films, books, and documentaries have all tried to unravel the mystery. But no explanation has ever truly satisfied. Why did the deaths follow a chain? Why were they so specific, so personal? Was it really just myth, or was something released when the seal was broken? Even now, museum staff who work near Tutankhamun's artifacts report strange happenings, whispering in the dark, cold air where there should be none, shadows where no shadow should be. The boy king's golden mask smiles in silence, a smile that has outlived centuries and possibly taken lives. So, next time you find yourself drawn to the wonders of the ancient world, remember this. Some doors were never meant to be opened. Some kings were never meant to be disturbed. And when you awaken the dead, they might just awaken you. The Terracotta tomb vanished beneath the emperor's gaze. They were just villagers digging for water. That's what they claimed in 1974, when a group of farmers near Xinjiang, China, struck something hard beneath the dry earth. It wasn't a rock. It wasn't clay. It was a face. Cold, unblinking, and eerily human. The first terracotta warrior, standing silently in formation for over 2,000 years. Soon, the Chinese government arrived. Archaeologists unearthed what would become one of the greatest discoveries in history: a buried army of over 8,000 soldiers, horses, and chariots, perfectly preserved, guarding the tomb of China's first emperor, Qin Shi Huang. But beneath the headlines and the national pride, something else began to stir. Something darker. You won't hear it in official reports, but there's a local legend the villagers still whisper when the wind is right. The emperor still watches, and he punishes those who dig too deep. The first vanishings. Before the state intervened, it's said that a small rogue excavation crew, not unlike tomb raiders, entered a previously unopened chamber near the Terracotta site. They weren't scientists. They were seeking treasure. Jade, gold, even rumored scrolls written by Qin's personal alchemists. No one knows exactly what they found, because they never came out. The group, 4 men from the nearby town of Lintong, vanished without a trace. Their camp was found days later, tools scattered, meals half-eaten, and their lanterns extinguished. No signs of struggle, no footprints leaving the site. Just one thing left behind, etched into the wall of the chamber in jagged, frantic strokes. They're not statues, whispers from the earth. Later teams reported strange phenomena. Equipment malfunctioned. Workers complained of whispering sounds underground, like voices moving between the warriors. Some even said the eyes of the statues moved. One night, a laborer wandered off during a night shift. His co-workers heard him shouting from the darkness, incoherent, terrified. When they found him, he was curled into a ball at the foot of a broken soldier, muttering. He spoke to me. He said, "The emperor is still dreaming." The man was never the same. He stopped speaking entirely within weeks and was institutionalized. The chamber that was sealed again. In 1976, a hidden chamber was briefly opened. One archaeologists believed led directly to the emperor's tomb. What they found has never been disclosed. All that's known is that within hours, the site was closed. Soldiers were stationed, and the chamber was sealed off with metal and concrete. Unofficially, some researchers claim there was an unnatural gas inside, toxic, ancient, still somehow active. Others believe it was something far worse. One member of that team, Professor Liu Han, later left a chilling note in his journal, discovered only after his death. There are traps that kill the body, and traps that awaken something far deeper. I fear we triggered both. Still standing, still watching. The Terracotta army still stands today. Tourists flock to see them. Row upon row of silent warriors, each with unique features, guarding their emperor even in death. But some night, guards say things don't stay as still as they should. Occasionally, a warrior will shift positions ever so slightly between inspections. One janitor quit on the spot after walking into the main hall and hearing what sounded like synchronized breathing. Others swear the statues are never in the same exact spot, as if they're marching inch by inch while no one is watching. Buried warnings. Qin Shi Huang was obsessed with immortality. He drank mercury to prolong his life. He ordered the construction of a hidden palace beneath the earth, with rivers of liquid metal and a ceiling painted with constellations. He believed he could live forever, not through flesh, but through legacy, through fear. And maybe, just maybe, through something else. Whatever lies sealed beneath that tomb, untouched to this day, may still be alive in ways we cannot understand. So if you ever visit the Terracotta army, and you feel a chill, or hear footsteps that don't match your own, remember, they were made to follow orders. And their emperor never died. The stone tomb. Madness. Beneath the Celtic earth, beneath the rolling hills of the English countryside, there are places where time grows thin, where the wind carries whispers, and the earth remembers every buried secret. In 2006, a quiet construction project near Northumberland, England, broke ground for a new rural housing estate. What should have been a simple job turned into something much stranger and much darker. Within days, the crew unearthed something ancient, a circular pattern of stones buried deep beneath centuries of soil. At first, they thought it was just a forgotten Celtic monument, maybe a druidic altar or part of an Iron Age settlement. But then they found the entrance, a narrow stone shaft descending into darkness, a tomb, a forgotten one. Archaeologists were called in. The site was cordoned off, and leading the project was site supervisor James Withers, a practical man, known for his discipline and steady temperament. But within weeks of working near the tomb, James began to change, subtly at first, and then irreversibly. Voices in the ground. James started complaining of headaches and claimed he was having strange dreams. He said he saw figures in the mist outside his trailer at night. He told one of the crew that something was wrong with the stones, that they weren't just marking a grave, but holding something in. He stopped sleeping, started carving symbols into his notebook, symbols eerily similar to those etched faintly into the tomb's ceiling, though he claimed he hadn't been inside yet. Then came the screaming. The incident. One morning, workers arrived to find James standing barefoot in the center of the tomb chamber. His hands were raw, bleeding from digging with his nails. His mouth was moving, but the words were unintelligible. Not English, not any language anyone could recognize. When they tried to pull him out, he resisted violently. He was screaming about the Guardian and the mouth beneath the stone. It took 4 men to restrain him. James Withers was hospitalized that day and never returned to the site. Diagnosed with acute psychosis, he spent the next year in silence, except for one phrase he would repeat over and over. The tomb watches. The tomb remembers. The unearthed remains. Inside the chamber, archaeologists discovered something baffling. A single human skeleton, curled unnaturally, as if in pain. Around it were offerings, antlers, carved stone idols, and what appeared to be fossilized tongues. Experts suggested it may have been a curse burial, a Celtic ritual used to trap malevolent spirits or punish traitors by binding them in the afterlife. But something didn't add up. The site had no entrance from the outside. The tomb had been sealed completely. No air, no access. Who buried the body? And how did they leave? Unexplained failures. After the tomb was opened, nothing went right. Machinery failed without warning. A digger operator went missing for 48 hours and was found wandering the woods miles away, unable to remember how he got there. 2 separate drones used for aerial surveys crashed directly over the tomb. When one archaeologist tried to remove the stone idol from the site for study, his car caught fire on the motorway. The idol was found in the trunk, completely untouched by the flames. Eventually, the site was shut down. Officially, the land was declared unstable for development. Unofficially, no one wanted to touch it. A site that disappeared. Today, the area is quiet again, overgrown, forgotten by design. Local villagers claim they sometimes see faint lights at night, hovering just above where the tomb lies buried. Others say they hear chanting, soft, rhythmic, like a ritual never truly ended. And James Withers? He never recovered. He now lives in a care home in the south of England, mostly silent. But on stormy nights, nurses say he becomes agitated, rocking in bed, whispering about stones and soil and something beneath it all that still breathes. The last entry, one of his last journal entries, found stained with dirt and written in a trembling hand, reads, "They carved the tomb not to honor the dead, but to keep it from waking." So next time you walk the English hills and you pass a ring of ancient stones, take care where you tread. Some graves were never meant to be found. Some stones were not meant to be moved. And when the land forgets, the dead do not. The Viking Queen's Grave. The offering that vanished. In the cold earth of Oseberg, Norway, in 1904, farmers digging through a burial mound uncovered something remarkable. A wooden ship, perfectly preserved beneath the clay and moss, resting silently for over 1,000 years. Inside it, the bones of 2 women. One believed to be a servant, the other surrounded by silks, carvings, and treasures from across the Viking world. She was adorned in fine wool, laid with carved animal heads, and her skeletal hand still clutched a ceremonial staff. Historians called her the Oseberg Queen, though her true name was lost to time. But the story doesn't end there, because something else was buried with her. Something never meant to see daylight again. A sacrificial object so strange, so unsettling, that its existence was kept quiet. And then, it vanished. The unnamed relic. Tucked beneath the planks of the ship was a wooden box, sealed shut with bone nails and tar. When archaeologists opened it, they didn't know what they were looking at. Inside was what appeared to be a figure, roughly human in shape, carved from darkened birch, but with limbs too long, a head with no face, and a cavity in its chest, where a piece of raw, desiccated flesh had been embedded. They believed it was a vulva idol, a ritual object used in satyr magic, Viking sorcery, a representation not of a god, but of something feared. The air reportedly turned cold when it was lifted from the tomb. 2 of the workers who touched it complained of nausea. One refused to return to the site the next day, claiming he dreamed of a woman standing on a burning sea. Then, without explanation, it disappeared. Official records make no mention of where it was stored. Museums deny ever receiving it. Even photographs of the idol mysteriously vanished from archived rolls. Only one journal entry, from a researcher named Dr. Henrik Alstad, remains. The idol does not depict a deity. It is a vessel. I believe it was used in the Queen's final rite, a living thing once bound within it. The mound was not a grave. It was a prison. Dr. Alstad died by suicide weeks after writing that. Strange events at the museum. The Oseberg artifacts now rest in Oslo's Viking Ship Museum, or most of them do. Staff have reported inexplicable incidents around the exhibit. One night, a motion sensor was triggered at 3:17 a.m. No intruder was found, but a faint smear, black and greasy, was discovered beneath the ship's keel. Visitors have reported feeling watched when standing near the Queen's remains. One woman fainted after claiming she saw the skull shift, as if turning slightly toward her. But strangest of all are the recordings. In 2002, during renovations, security installed night cameras. For 3 consecutive nights, audio picked up a low-frequency humming, like chanting, in a language that linguists later identified as Old Norse, but with words that don't appear in any known texts. The chanting stopped after the staff moved a particular artifact into storage. They've never said which one. The unspoken legend. Some historians believe the Oseberg queen wasn't just royalty. She was a priestess of the old ways. Not merely buried, but entombed to seal something with her. The ship wasn't just her ride to Valhalla. It was her final ward, a ritual coffin to keep something anchored. The presence of human sacrifices, exotic animals, and bizarre tools supports this theory. But if the idol was part of that ritual, and it's missing, then what else has been unsealed? The warning. A final chilling clue was found, carved into a wooden panel beneath the burial platform, almost missed due to age and rot. The rune inscription was translated by Dr. Alstad before his death. Let no man raise the vessel. Let no flame awaken it. Her blood holds it still. Her death binds the storm. Was the queen guarding something darker than history is ready to accept? And if the idol is truly gone, where is it now? So the next time you admire the long-dead empires of the North, the ships, the gold, the carved gods and fearless warriors, remember this. Not all Viking graves were for heroes. Some were for secrets, and some were for monsters. If you ever see a faceless figure in the corner of your dreams, holding something that pulses in its hollow chest, don't listen to it, because it remembers who broke the seal. The ancient tombs of Xinjiang. The mummy that shouldn't exist, in the dry sands of Xinjiang, China, far from cities, in the heart of the Taklamakan Desert, lies a graveyard unlike any other. It is a place the locals once feared, a wasteland whispered to be haunted by the dead that don't decay. In the early 1980s, archaeologists began uncovering graves here, not of crumbled bones, but of perfectly preserved human corpses, thousands of years old. The most famous among them, a woman with high cheekbones, long braided hair, and European features, preserved so immaculately that she looked like she could wake up. She became known as the Beauty of Lulan. Dated to around 1800 BCE, she was buried with woven cloth, dried flowers, and leather shoes. Her eyes were shut, her face serene. No embalming chemicals, no sarcophagus, just salt, sand, and silence. But from the moment she was removed from the earth, misfortune began to follow. The first death, the lead archaeologist who exhumed her, Professor Ren Guoxiang, died in a sudden car crash 2 weeks after the discovery. His driver said he'd become increasingly distracted in the days before, muttering about dreams filled with sandstorms and a woman standing at the edge of time. His notes were recovered, containing sketches of symbols not found in the tomb, spirals and mirrored characters that matched no known language. The plague of accidents. In the years following, a strange pattern formed. Researchers who studied the Lulan mummy, whether directly or by handling artifacts found with her, began suffering accidents, illnesses, or mental breakdowns. One died of a sudden brain aneurysm after spending a single night alone cataloging the textiles. Another developed a skin disease that left her body covered in sores, identical in pattern to the burial wrappings. A respected European museum requested to exhibit the mummy. Their climate-controlled transport van caught fire en route. Only the box containing the mummy was untouched, but the curator suffered third-degree burns trying to open it. He later told reporters, "It felt like something inside wanted out." The desert's warning, local Uyghur legends warned for centuries of the Silent Ones, spirits that sleep beneath the sands, punishing those who disturb their dreams. They believe some ancient rulers performed desert burials, not for preservation, but imprisonment. One elder told investigators, "She wasn't buried to be honored. She was buried to be forgotten." The Whispering Heir. In 2006, a Chinese documentary crew was granted access to film the Lulan beauty at night. The footage was never aired. According to leaked testimony from a cameraman, All electronics, lights, mics, battery packs, failed simultaneously at 2:37 a.m. The room turned cold. One crew member collapsed after screaming. She opened her eyes. He was diagnosed with acute schizophrenia 2 months later. His final drawing before being institutionalized? A woman's face, twisted in anguish, her eyes pitch black, and a spiral carved into her forehead. Vanished files and silent rooms. In 2011, the Lulan mummy was quietly removed from public view. The official reason: conservation and political sensitivity. But insiders claim there was another reason: multiple unexplained phenomena in the museum room where she was displayed. Visitors complained of nausea, migraines, and hearing low whispers in languages they didn't understand. One child reportedly pointed at the mummy and said, "She's still breathing." Security logs show movement alerts when no one was present. Eventually, the room was sealed, and the mummy was relocated to an undisclosed underground vault. Even the digital records have thinned. Photos, documents, and scans linked to her display have been lost, corrupted, or deleted. The final note: among the last files recovered from the original excavation was a handwritten line, found in the margins of a translator's notebook, circled in red. She carries a name that should never be spoken. To speak it is to invite her memory into yours. No one knows who wrote it, or what name they meant. So the next time you look at a photograph of an ancient face, perfectly preserved for thousands of years, ask yourself, was she waiting to be remembered? Or did she want to stay buried forever? Because some bodies don't rot, and some souls don't sleep. Conclusion. What truly happens when we disturb ancient tombs? From a scientific perspective, the answer often lies in exposure. Long-sealed bacteria, toxic molds, or even psychological suggestion. The mind, placed in eerie, high-stress environments like burial chambers, becomes fertile ground for hallucinations, paranoia, and fear-driven breakdowns. But spiritually, many cultures believe the dead are bound by sacred rites, protected by symbols, spells, and silence. To violate these is to break an unspoken contract between the living and the beyond. What follows may not be physical, but it's real. Shadows linger, misfortunes multiply, and some say the spirits do not just awaken, they follow. So what are we really unearthing? History, or something better left buried? Some doors are sealed for a reason. Not everything hidden is meant to be found. You may walk away from the tomb, but something might walk out with you.
The world is not always what it seems. If you're ready to keep peeling back the shadows, like, share, and subscribe this video. The truth is just beginning to unfold.